Hello and welcome at Tech and Just Virtual Tutor channel. We hope that you will enjoy your stay here and benefit from these tutorials which are provided here on this channel. Okay, before we start this tutorial, we request you to subscribe this channel if you have not subscribed it yet. Hit the bell icon and watch the complete tutorial. And if you would like this tutorial, then definitely we deserve your hit on the like button as well. Alright, so let's start with this tutorial of biology by quickly reviewing our previous tutorial of discovery of cell and cell theory. So then it will form a kind of a continuation with this tutorial. Alright. Now, in the tutorial of discovery of cell, you had learnt about the cell and its organelles. And you had also learnt about the difference in plant cells and animal cells. Now, from here onwards, we will explore further to know more about cells. Now, do you remember that we had discussed about Matthias Sladen and Theodor Schwann, who stated that all plants and animals are composed of cells? And we also talked about Rodolphe Virchow, who stated that cell is the fundamental and structural unit of life. And besides this information, you also know that cell is the smallest organism, and moreover, plants and animals are composed of these small organisms. So now this can be easily understood that many small organisms combine together to form a bigger organism, which could be either a plant or an animal. Now, before we move further, it should be noted here that these small organisms, which are also known as cells, they combine together in a very systematic way in order to form a bigger organism. This may be important to note that there are 200 different types of cells that combine to form a human body. Now, these 200 types of cells may differ from animal to animal, but let's just focus on human body for now. Alright? Now, the way how these cells combine together is that similar type of cells join together to form tissues. Keep in mind that we are talking about 200 different types of cells in human body. So within these 200 types of different cells, the similar type of cells, they combine together to form tissues. For example, the cell responsible to form skin, they will combine together to form skin tissues. And then these tissues will ultimately form the skin. Similarly, cells which are responsible to form various muscles in the body, they will combine together to form muscle tissues. And then these muscle tissues will further develop these muscles. Formation of cells and tissues and ultimately the formation of complete body, it's a very vast topic. And here is just a glimpse that is provided, so it will become easier for you to understand about the cells and their formation. Alright, now as we have discussed earlier that cell is an organism by itself, therefore it has the ability to live as a single cell as well. So keeping this in mind, now we can elaborate organisms into two categories. And those two categories are that organisms composed of single cell and organisms composed of many cells. So an organism composed of a single cell is called a unicellular organism, whereas an organism composed of many cells is called a multicellular organism. Obviously, it's very easy to understand. Now, at this point, a very common question that arises is that why organisms are categorized as unicellular and multicellular organisms? And why can't all organisms can be multicellular? Well, in order to find the answer to this question, you need to look into the structure of a cell. So let's take a look at the structure of a cell. Alright? Now, cells are classified into two classes, which are prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now, first let us know the meanings of these two words, so it will become easier for you to understand them. Well, both of these words, they come from the Greek language. And you can well observe that keri is common in both these words. Keri means nut or kernel. And here the words nut or kernel, they typically refer to the nucleus of the cell. Alright? Now in the first word, pro means before. So the whole word prokaryote means before nucleus, which actually means absence of nucleus in the cell. Now look at the second word. Here eu means true. So here the whole word eukaryote means true nucleus. And this actually means that a cell with a true nucleus. Now keeping these meanings in mind, let us just recap that prokaryotic cells, they do not possess nucleus, whereas eukaryotic cells, they possess true nucleus. Here at this point it should be noted, or rather remembered, that eukaryotic cell has membrane-bound nucleus, whereas no membrane is found in prokaryotic cell. Therefore, nucleus does not exist in the prokaryotic cells. Alright? Now, hopefully you have understood the meanings and difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now, as we have already discussed that a multicellular organism is composed of many cells, so here it would be worth mentioning that only those cells which have true nucleus, only they have the ability to combine together to form a multicellular organism. So now by knowing this, you can easily understand that since prokaryotic cells do not possess true nucleus, therefore they cannot combine together to form a multicellular organism. Whereas eukaryotes, since they have a true nucleus, they can combine together to form a multicellular organism. Now here you must note that it's not mandatory that all eukaryotes shall combine together to form multicellular organism. Instead, some of them, they prefer to stay as a single cell or unicellular organism, despite of having a true nucleus. So with this characteristic, eukaryotic cell, they fall in both categories. That is, they are found in unicellular category as well as they are found in multicellular categories. Whereas prokaryotic cells, they are typically found in the unicellular category, since they cannot combine to form multicellular organism due to the absence of nucleus. Now, hopefully you have understood clearly about the structure of a cell and how the classes of prokaryotes and eukaryotes are classified into unicellular and multicellular categories. Let's just take a look at the taxonomical chart and see how this information fits into it. So the first block, as you can see here, is stated as organism. The meaning of organism is that any individual entity that exhibits the properties of life is called an organism. In this image you can see various individuals that exhibits the properties of life, and as you can see, they can be either plants, animals, bacteria, protist or fungus. These organisms which we are talking about here, they are categorized into three types. And these three types are plants, animals and microscopic organisms. Here from these blocks you can easily understand that plants and animals, they are multicellular organisms, or you can say that they are eukaryotes. But when we talk about microscopic organisms, they can either be unicellular organisms or they can be multicellular organisms. The reason why this third block is added to biology is that these organisms cannot be seen with the naked eye, and a microscope is required to study them. So therefore they are termed as microscopic organisms. Alright? Now these microscopic organisms can be plants, animals, bacteria, protist or fungus. And they are found in each of three domains of life, which are archaea, bacteria and eukarya. Microorganisms in the domains of archaea and bacteria, they are typically prokaryotes. And by now you must have been well conversed that prokaryotes cannot combine with other cells due to lack of nucleus. Anyways, in these images you can see various examples of archaea and bacteria, and it can be well observed that these are all single cell or unicellular organisms. Now, the microorganisms in the domain of eukarya, they are eukaryotes. And while you know the meanings and characteristics of eukaryotes, you can understand that they can be either unicellular organisms or they can be multicellular organisms. In these images, you can see a few examples of eukaryotic unicellular organisms. Means that these images, they are representing organisms which are composed of a single cell. Alright? Now, one thing that you should note here is that these images which are being shown now, these organisms can be seen without the help of microscope. But the problem is that their eggs and their larvae, they are so small that a microscope is required to study them. So therefore these organisms are also included in the list of microorganisms. And keep in mind that these are multicellular organisms. Alright, now in this tutorial you have learned more about cells, their formation towards multicellular organisms, about unicellular and multicellular organisms, and you have also learned the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now this tutorial reaches to its end, and we hope that you have found it informative and beneficial. And if you have liked this tutorial, then we certainly deserve your hit on the like button. By the way, if you have not subscribed the channel yet, please do it now. Alright, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next tutorial as well.